Okay, so today I'm going to talk about what I've been seeing as a driver of society, a person that drives around town all day, delivering things to people so they don't have to do it themselves. And in this process, where I used to work, I was basically driving to work and back home for the last 10 years and didn't really do a lot of driving around town, except for maybe on the weekends, when the traffic isn't nearly as bad as it is when you're driving during the weekdays, and it's during, rush hour at 5 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But I have noticed a huge difference in how people drive in the Tri-City area. It's not because there's more cars. It's just how timid people are, and how overly defensive they are, to the point that their overly defensive driving is actually causing problems in the transportation system. You have a lot of cars that line up at the left turn signals, and the time that they give you to make the left turn isn't long enough to get even more than 3 cars through, because people are too timid and too shy to make the left-hand turn. It's like they don't know what they're doing. So when they see a flashing yellow left, they think it means stop and don't go. They literally just sit there behind the white line and not even move forward to prepare to make the left-hand turn. And so what happens is as soon as that yellow arrow turns green, if it turns green, sometimes they never turn green. They just turn from flashing yellow back to red again. But then what they'll do is, as soon as it turns green, they'll go out into the turn and make the turn. Well, what happens is it reduces the amount of cars you can actually get through the turn. So you only have like 3 cars that can make it. And so you have this line of vehicles. And it's not even that busy of a day, but yet because there's too many timid drivers who are lined up to make that left-hand turn, it creates a traffic problem. And I've noticed this in this last year of driving around, that this is a common issue, that these people are too scared to yield the left, and so they'll literally just sit there behind the white line instead of inching forward and preparing to make a turn. I don't know if that's what they're teaching in these defensive driving schools, but I'm telling you, it's creating other traffic issues, traffic congestions that are going on behind them because they won't get through the turn fast enough. A lot of times what happens is the guy who's behind them, who is actually capable of driving, who isn't jacked up on prescription drugs, gets frustrated. So what they do is they trail behind the last car when the light is already red. They'll go ahead and run it because they don't want to wait through another entire session of the light, because of the fact that the guys in front of them were so slow and timid that it created a traffic problem. And so you're more, more road rage type of drivers are going to actually blow that light. So then who's at fault with that? I mean, the cop, these cops, they'll sit there and they'll go, oh, look, you ran a red light. We're going to give you a ticket for that. But what about the people that are too hesitant? I mean, I remember one time when I was taking my first traffic safety drive, when I was trying to get my license. And you know what I did? I got marked down because I hesitated at a light. Yes, it actually hurt my score because I hesitated. Do they give tickets for that? I mean, I have yet to see a single cop patrol like roundabouts or intersections where these timid drivers are not proceeding like they're supposed to. I mean, if the cops are looking for their quota for the week or the month or however they do it, they could literally just sit next to an intersection and start handing out tickets to all the hesitant drivers. And then while he's at it, he might as well do a sobriety test on him, because most of those people are either too old to be driving, or they're jacked up on some kind of prescription drug, or there's someone who came to this country who got a license somehow but has no idea how to drive. Yeah, and you know, this isn't anecdotal. I mean, I have looked at the drivers of these vehicles and made mental notes of who they are and what they look like. Okay, I see timid with the type of drivers that literally go up to their steering wheels and they're like, they look like they have the grip of death on it, like they think they're gonna die. And then you got the guy that looks like he's basically out of it because he's jacked up on some kind of painkiller, and yet he's driving anyway. And it's just amazing that this is going on, that there isn't any kind of deterrent for them not to do it, because the enforcement isn't doing anything about it. They're looking for the speeder. They're looking for the guy that blows the light. They're looking for they don't care about the people that don't drive very well. They just care about the ones that look like they're going to get someone killed, right? It's like, oh, you sped, or you ran a stop sign, even though it's, Saturday morning at 6:30? I mean, I've watched the cops in the or at least in Kennewick, okay? So, they are so easy to figure out, the cops, okay? So what they're doing is they literally, when they go on patrol to do, patrol work out on the streets, they do it as a group. Yeah, in fact, the entire city of Kennewick, you will know which days they're doing patrols, because you can find cops all over the place. Like, you can drive a couple blocks and there's a cop. You can drive another couple blocks and there's a cop. But the thing is, it's not very often during the month. I mean, I know which days the cops are patrolling and which days they aren't. And so it's like, I know when I can speed, I know when I can blow stop signs, because there's no cops out. Okay, so they must have some kind of a new buddy system that they do, because they're scared of being out there by themselves because of how crazy it's gotten. I mean, that's what I'm guessing, right? I mean, I bet they don't like to do that. I mean, I can't even imagine being a cop and having to give tickets. But I bet it's one of those things that a lot of cops probably don't care to do. Because I remember one time when I was going to Costco, and I was coming home from Costco, and I was with my family, and we didn't have a lot of money back then. Times were tight, and we were driving a Suzuki Swift. And we had it full of our monthly Costco run. And this cop pulled us over because I had gone down the hill next to the Columbia Center too fast, because there's like a little hill there and it's only 30 miles an hour. Well, I must have, I was in a manual drive car, and so I must have probably just coasted down the hill and didn't bother about, braking. And so he ends up pulling me over. And of course, he's not by himself. I can see another cop car sitting across the way. And so he's probably in one of those situations where, oh God, I'm gonna have to pull this guy over, and then and he realizes that inside the car it's full of Costco, and he sees a young family, right? He sees a young lady, and he sees a baby in the back seat, and he's like, oh man, I have to give these people a ticket, right? And I remember when he gave me a ticket, he apologized. He was like, I'm sorry, but I have to do this. And then he talked about how I could go to the court and have them reduce the amount that I had to pay. And of course, I took the ticket. And I thought, whatever, I was speeding, fine, I'll pay the fee. But I remember the look on his face and how he really didn't like what he was doing. And that he had to do it because he had another buddy that was watching him across the street. I don't know if he was new and he was, being watched to see if he would actually give a ticket or not. I don't know. But I've noticed that the driving in the Tri-City area is atrocious. There's a lot of bad drivers. I have noticed that there are a lot of dents on the backside of cars. But they're not really big dents. They're like dents that are caused by backing into people or into other cars. It's like they don't even look. This idea that you have these screens now, that people look at those screens, that you can't see everything on those screens. Sometimes something might be coming from the side at a faster speed, or another car could be pulling out, and they could be right next to you. And because you got your eyes fixated on that screen, you don't even notice it, and you end up hitting somebody as you're backing out. I don't even think those screens should be allowed in cars. I think a person has to have the ability to actually look behind them, left and right, to make the back out. That is a real common thing now. These people who are driving these giant pickup trucks or these giant Suburbans and these four-wheel drive crossover cars, and they don't even know how to back up properly because they're so used to looking in the screen to do it. Let's see, what else have I noticed? Yeah, so going back to the cops and the patrolling. So, and it's amazing the times of day when they do their patrolling, okay? So I drive early in the mornings, I drive in the evenings, I drive all different times of the day. And I have noticed that the cops will patrol during the most ridiculous times, okay? So like, for instance, I had mentioned 6:30 on a Saturday morning. Yeah, I've seen cops sitting out in the parking lots of places watching the intersections or watching, the straight and narrows where people are going to most likely speed. A lot of times it's on the bottom sides of hills, right? I mean, talk about boss hog copping, right? It's like it's something Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane would do in the Dukes of Hazzard, right? I mean, here you are, you're out there when no one's on the road, and you're trying to catch someone who's going down the hill too fast. I mean, it's like, are you guys serious? I mean, usually that time of day, early morning on a Saturday, those are going to be your hunters, your fishing people. It's going to be the people that are going on a camping trip. It's going to be people who are awake and realize that, hey, it's a Saturday. We're going to go get somewhere early so we can get there before they open, right? Like they're going on a trip. And yet here's the cops out there, just looking. And yet here it is, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you've got these people who cannot make a left turn to save their life, right? I mean, it's like you guys should be out there when you could be pulling people over, when you should be pulling people over. And it's just like the cops, I don't understand it. It's like they're trying to make their quota as most easily as possible. And so they're choosing times of days that are just ridiculous. I mean, I remember seeing cops thinking to myself, wow, it's a good thing I wasn't speeding at 6:30 on a Saturday morning when no one's up, or even on a Sunday morning. It's like, wow, man, it sure is a good thing we got those cops out here right now. But anyway, so I mean, most of your drivers or deliverers or people, like I said, are going to be going on trips, and here you got the cops out there, trying to bust the good people. Busting the people that are actually working or doing something early on a Saturday, because all your yahoos, all your goof off and jack off people, those people already did their things on Friday night, right? They're all in bed still. Yeah, they don't start waking up until like 11 o'clock, right? A lot of your miscreants and those kind of people, they're not up at 6:30 in the morning, okay? So the reason is when I see cops out that early in the morning, it tells me that those cops have got their priorities backwards. So anyway, that's enough ranting about cops. So let's move on then. So we're not done. There's still lots more to talk about when it comes to the driving in the Tri-Cities and how ridiculous it is. Another thing is the roundabouts. Yeah, so I travel on 27th Avenue in Kennewick quite often. And the roundabout on Vancouver, okay, they need to remove that roundabout and put a light. Okay, because there are too many timid drivers that do not know how to drive a roundabout correctly. Okay, they treat it like a four-way stop. They literally go up to that thing and they stop, they look, and then they proceed if they can. Okay, that is not what a yield sign is. Okay, it's not a stop sign. You are supposed to proceed or stop if a car is coming. You're supposed to reduce your speed to the point where you can look and see whether or not a car is coming to you or not. And then you proceed through it. You don't stop every time. And I see this a lot. This is like a common occurrence where there's no one even in the roundabout, and that person will stop and then proceed. And so what happens is you end up with this line of cars from Vancouver Street all the way to Highway 395. Yes, there will be a line of cars that goes from the intersection of Ely and goes all the way to 395, and then goes from Ely all the way to Vancouver Street. Yes, it happens. Okay? And then, of course, when you see cops in that area, what are they doing? They're out there during the days where people can speed down the hill by the garbage disposal place, right? And that's where you see the cop waiting to give a ticket, looking for a speeder. And yet, when it comes to the roundabouts, they're oblivious. They don't even patrol roundabouts at all. And there's so many times that people do not negotiate the roundabout correctly. And they either go through the roundabout and hit a fence, or they stop instead of going through like they're supposed to and create a giant traffic congestion in the process. Yeah, I mean, and then another thing, I mean, I took a lot of pictures of this occurrence. People are stopping behind the white line that's almost an entire car length or more. And I'm not talking about the left-hand turn where someone might actually, cut their corner too short and run into you. I'm talking about the inside lane where there's already another lane on the outside of you that is pulled back a little bit so you're not out too far. So when the other traffic that's coming across doesn't cut too sharp and run into you. These people are, I don't know what it is, but they are literally way back behind. You can see in these pictures that I'm showing you throughout this video that this is something that goes on a lot. I mean, what is this? This is like a new phenomenon. I have never seen this until this last year when I started driving out here. I mean, this wasn't the way it was back in the day. People would get up to the line like you're supposed to. You used to get in trouble if you did stuff like that. Nowadays, nope, doesn't matter. It's okay. You can go ahead and I've even seen police cars do it, where they're back behind the white line, almost a full car length. I mean, what is going on with people? I mean, are we that retarded? I mean, are our brains so fried with prescription drugs that even our police officers don't know how to drive correctly? Okay, so, and then also, I have another observation to make, and it doesn't really have to do with driving as much as it has to do with the little dick syndrome, okay? There's the old saying that if you drive a big truck, or drive a big pickup, it's because you're trying to compensate for a discrepancy somewhere else in your life, which usually has to do with your little member, right? And there must be a lot of guys now that have really small dicks. I mean, I cannot believe how many pickup trucks there are now in the Tri-Cities. Okay? Back in the day when you drove a pickup truck, it was because you needed it for work. Okay? You needed it for your job. Either you worked in a farm, or you worked in delivering something, or you worked in some kind of a trade where you needed to have a pickup truck. Well, now pickup trucks are everywhere. I mean, your most fruity-looking, prepping-looking guy will be driving a giant pickup truck. And the pickup truck has become a symbol. The pickup truck is now like this thing where it's a manly thing. And so since we have such weak men in this country, where these weak men like to talk about how they're they're liberty people, and how they have guns and they vote Republican, and they got the flag on their car and their truck, and they got their flag on their house, and they got their big truck. Well, but yet in reality they got really small, little, weak, personalities. They're like these little weak, timid people, but yet they got that I got my big pickup truck. And it's become even more and more prevalent. Like, I've seen people basically bankrupt themselves because they had to have a big pickup truck, right? I mean, it's like, I just not half the man if I don't have a pickup truck. I gotta have a big pickup truck. And I'm ranting about this because it's ridiculous. I mean, do people realize how much money they're spending on that pickup truck? Because it makes them feel like they're actually a masculine type of man. When in reality, after we've seen this last cold season, just how pathetic and weak we are as a male species in this country. I mean, every time I see a guy driving around in a pickup truck, when I know that pickup truck is not being used for their place of work, you wouldn't believe the stuff that goes through my head, my feelings towards that person. Oh, that's because you want a pickup truck, but you can't afford it. Oh, no, I can easily afford a pickup truck. Oh, yeah. It's just I don't have to spend money on making myself feel like I'm a man, okay? It's nice to have a pickup truck. Usually I can borrow someone's pickup truck if I actually need to haul something. But do you realize how much money you spend on that pickup truck? And because of how prevalent it isn't because it's so you can go out and you can go hunting, or so you can go out and build a brick wall because you need to be able to haul the bricks. No, it's because of your ego. Yeah, it's because you like to pound your chest, because I've seen it. I mean, it is all over the place. And what's this thing with blowing smoke on people? Does that make you feel good and powerful and strong when you can hit the gas and blow smoke on somebody? I mean, really? I mean, seriously, your dick is that small. And then what's with the pull behinds, right? I mean, now it's not good enough to have a big pickup. Now you have to have a camper attached to it, or you got to have some kind of a storage thing that you pull around behind it. Oh, look at me. I even have a smaller dick than you. I have to have a trailer attached to my pickup truck. And it's if this was just, once in a while, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it isn't. It is everywhere. I mean, even my own family people have had to go out and bust their finances and refinance their homes and stuff because they had to have a big pickup truck. You know what I mean? Dude, I'm telling you, that is a sign of the times in this country. That the fact that people think they have to have this giant pickup truck in order to feel like they're somebody who has some kind of significance. That's sad. That is really sad. And the thing is I drove around a Suzuki Swift for a long time, and I drive around a little Kia right now. And you know why I have to drive it? Because I have to undercompensate for something. Yeah, it's true. My dick's so big that I have to drive a small car. Because when I'm coming through, you got to look out, because I'll just knock you over with it. It's so big. Yeah, I mean, I have to literally drive a smaller car just to make my ego smaller, because it's so big anyway, right? That's why I made this video series, right? I'm calling people out for their bullshit and for the fact that they're so weak and minuscule, because during this cold season, we couldn't stand up to anything. We just rolled over. We just literally rolled over and said, go ahead. Because they're eventually going to take your guns, and they're eventually going to make you do things that you thought you would never do, because you really don't have the strength to stand up against it.